Today's guest is mastermind member and Hawaii elopement photographer Allie Dove. Inside the elopement photographer mastermind, she went from 2-hour beach elopements to multi-island experiences and built out an associate team with rock solid automations. We dig into the real ROI of coaching and mentorship, how to know when to invest, plus healing money trauma and building a values aligned business you actually want to wake up to. And Allie shares what's next now that the day-to-day is streamlined and she has more time and energy for new business ventures. This one's equal parts strategy and soul. Let's get into it. Welcome to Stoked, the podcast that helps adventure elopement photographers hit six figures and beyond in their businesses without hustling on social media. I'm your host, Megan McPhail, a former burnt-out emergency veterinarian that quit my hard-earned career to become an elopement photographer. Now I'm living a life I absolutely love, full of travel, adventure, and financial abundance, and I am hell-bent on helping you do the same. Are you ready to start booking out your calendar with dream couples in breathtaking locations and feeling genuinely stoked about your elopement photography business, life, and bank account? Then let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, it's your host, Megan McPhail, and today I'm here with a super special guest. I'm so excited to share her story and insight. I have Allie Dove. She is a Hawaii elopement photographer. Welcome to the podcast, Allie.
Yay! Thank you. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I'm so stoked to have you here. And I really want to go into your backstory because it's really interesting how you got to be an elopement photographer and how you got to Hawaii. But let's start with, how did you become a photographer? How did you find your love for photography?
It started probably when I was like 10 years old, just with my family's point and shoot camera. And I think my mom and even like my teachers and mentors noticed that I had an eye, and I was just very present in it and enjoying it. So they really supported me through that. But I just liked it. I would just take it and like had a natural affinity to document things.
I love that. I think a lot of us can relate to that, just like taking photos of our friends, or I took lots of photos of my dogs. So you are not originally from Hawaii. You ended up there. How did you end up in Hawaii?
When I was in college, I applied for an environmental grant to work on a farm over the summer, my freshman year of college, to this farm called Sunshower Farms. And they were just starting, they were a coffee farm. And I spent the summer there working on the farm. And then 7 years later, I went to visit her again, and she had turned it into a wedding venue.
That's wild. So is
Yeah.
that what got you into weddings, or what got you interested in photographing like weddings and couples and stuff?
I guess in college, I was a trip guide. So I would do all these different trips. And one that we would do a lot was in the Everglades. It was like a canoeing and paddling trip. And I would always do it with similar leaders. Their names were Bree and Sam. And I would just always bring my camera for fun. I had taken so many photos of them already. And so they just asked, like, would I want to do their wedding? So we did like their engagement photos, and I asked to shadow a photographer I'd always looked up to, worked 3 jobs that summer to get like a proper DSLR and a really good quality lens. And then, yeah, I did my first wedding, and I think I charged $1,200. It was like 10 to 12 hours of coverage. And I don't have any shame about, I think charge whatever you need to charge and just get the experience when you're first starting and just get in there. There's no shame. But I loved it, but I just realized like being there for that long, like at that time, my perception of wedding packages is like 8 to 12 hour coverage. And yeah, I was like, I would do this for a friend again, but I don't want to do this for my job. So I just kind of, after college, I just pursued outdoor education.
Yeah, so tell us more about the outdoor education.
I worked in the Berkshires of Massachusetts, and they had a relationship with a similar center in New Zealand. And all I wanted to do after college was like work and travel. And so it was like a great way to get to New Zealand. So I worked there for 6 months, and then they had a connection to a place in Canada. And I worked in Canada. And then another program, I did a backpacking trip in the Yukon Territory, and then eventually made my way to Australia, and I was going to work there, and then I got burnt out.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I kind of like reset there and did a 9 to 5 job, which is the only time I've ever wanted that stability, and just worked in an office for like 3 months.
That's wild. Here I was, like, slaving away in vet school, and, like, you're, like, traveling the world backpacking. I feel like I should have made different choices when I was younger. Like, that's such a cool backstory. So then you go back to Hawaii, and you go to the Big Island because that's where you did your summer working at the farm, and then tell us how you got into elopement photography on the Big Island.
Yeah. So I went back to Hawaii and was just like, I went to Oahu for a month, Maui to a month. I was kind of doing the similar thing, kind of like work trade. And then I reached out to Kate, who was the owner of the farm I woofed at. I guess I went back in 2019, but when I worked on her farm, it was 2013. So 6 years later, and she had turned it into a wedding venue. My friend and I stayed with her for 2 weeks. And at the end of that time, she was like, if you want to stay, I have a job for you. So I would work part time in the coffee farm and then part time assisting her with weddings. So eventually it turned into like a full time position with her as a assistant wedding coordinator.
So you enjoyed your time on the farm, but you wanted to be a photographer. You wanted to, instead of coordinating weddings, you wanted to photograph, but you didn't really want to photograph weddings though.
Yeah, that actually reminds me like there was a husband and wife duo, Aloha Zoe Photography, and they're like another really good Hawaii elopement photographer. And they had a wedding on the farm and I was assisting with it. And I was like, oh my gosh. And yeah, I was just like, I've looked up to you guys for so long.
Oh.
They showed me what was possible, that I could do it. I was getting so much experience in the planning side of things, and that's turned out to really help my business now. But yeah, after photographing my friend's wedding, I was just like, there was no, like, I'm holding my chest right now, but there was no, it wasn't in alignment, right? Like, it was probably stressful for me. My body was like, this isn't for me. I was just associating it for me with stress. Whereas, like, the elopement photography that I was seeing Aloha Zoe doing felt probably more like freedom or like I could breathe, air, excitement.
Yeah, that got you stoked, whereas the idea of wedding photography really kind of made you anxious.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's fast forward to COVID. What happened during
Oh, yeah. Okay.
COVID?
So then COVID happened, and at the beginning, you're not sure, but within 3 months, it went from this is a scare to the industry is going to shut down for a while and kind of dealing with the cancellations. So I went on unemployment because there were no more weddings. And I was part of a group called Base Camp Outdoors, which is a wonderful networking group and job group for outdoor educators. And a woman named Justine. She's still a life coach and stuff now, but she was just starting out during COVID and just seeing a lot of people feeling confused and struggling. And she wanted to give back. So she pitched a group coaching program for free to anyone in the group if they wanted to join. So I was like, yes, sign me up. And that really helped me visualize, like, hey, this could be possible. And we did a values assessment, and a lot of it I see patterns in the initial part of your coaching program, but just visualizing things, understanding your values, and then how do we build a business that aligns with that. And then
Yeah,
that's where I was able to see it for the first time, and I used all the income from unemployment to build my business. I like begged friends to pose for me, and then towards the other side of it, I was referred to Fly Talk, which is this cool company that does portrait photography around the world, but I needed a couple to pose for me. And so I asked some friends who had just gotten engaged to pose for me. We did the shoot, didn't think anything of it. It went great. I started working for a photographer, and a couple months later, they were like, we weren't going to have a photographer, but we loved our experience with you. We felt so comfortable. We don't really have much of a budget, but would you be open to pitching one to us and coming along with us? We're going to do this magical ceremony in this valley here that we feel really connected to. So yeah, I think that one I did for like 4 or 500.
good for
And
you.
and then I had all the planning skills and stuff, which was amazing. So I just helped them with that, the marriage license stuff. And then the day came. And that is where everything changed for me because I showed up. We just all went to a lunch together. It was so relaxed. Like, then they all went and got ready. And I didn't start doing the photography till we got down in the valley. So I was kind of just witnessing how relaxed the lead up to this was versus like the weddings where you just have a lot of people moving throughout the venue and stuff. And it's just a different energy. It was just them, their three closest friends. One of them officiated, two witnesses. And yeah, it was beautiful. And they were so happy. But I think the biggest difference was how relaxed she was as a bride and then how much they were able to connect as a couple. And I hadn't always seen that. Like, I think weddings are amazing because you get all your favorite people in the world together, but sometimes there are motives that aren't driven by the couple or other opinions that drive parts of your wedding that take that experience away from you, or you're just going from one thing to the other. So the elopement was such an alternative to that. I felt more in alignment with it. And I was like, okay, I want to build a business behind this.
That's amazing. And I want to point out how your body's reaction to weddings versus elopement days like really pointed you in the right direction as far as like what you should pursue. And so many people don't like listen to that stuff. So many people are like, well, the money is in weddings, or whatever. And like they go after something even though it makes them anxious and stressed and doesn't really align with their values. And then here you are kind of experiencing both worlds, doing this group coaching program and getting that courage to be like, oh, I'm following what my body's telling me to follow, what I'm really stoked about. And that's really cool. That's one thing I want to point out. And then the second thing I want to point out is that you did group coaching and you loved it.
It was wonderful.
Then you invested in another coaching program, but that was more geared towards weddings.
Yeah. So that one, it was still such a great experience. That was the first time where I was like, okay, now I actually have to spend money on this. And I was terrified. But she actually had a podcast too. And every time I'd listen to it, I had a takeaway from it. So I was like, okay, I think I want to invest in this to learn more. So it was super helpful. My numbers doubled like within a year. So it works. There was another participant in our program that also did elopements. And I saw that she was working with you. And she said it was a much more intimate coaching experience. And specifically, how with the metrics, you gave such detailed responses and feedbacks. So both programs were great, but numbers wise, it was laid out that like this next program I would get specific feedback on really how to raise my numbers. And then just, I needed more experience around elopements. I had no idea what a full day elopement, I was like, how do you do this? How do you get to do this? 4 hours. Like I would do, 2 hours and I loved it. And I remember you saying and other people when I first said that, I was like, well, I kind of like the 2 hours. And you were like, now on a full day, sometimes I feel like I barely have time. Now I feel that way too. So it just takes time and having someone teach you what it is and how to communicate that to your clients. Because that's the key to also being able to make enough money, but you are selling an experience you believe in because you and all the other students in the program see like we're living it where the 4 hours is even rushed for a lot of couples now. And sometimes I'll brief them on that. So it is nice to be able, it doesn't feel like you're selling if it's something you believe in and it's going to benefit them.
Yeah, totally. I think so many people can relate where they're like, why do a full day, 8 hour, 10, 12 hour elopement when like a 2 hour seems fine? And it's like, once you start doing them, you realize that like you're almost doing a disservice to the people who book you for less hours because the couples have so much fun on these full days. And like Hawaii has so much more to offer than just a beach ceremony. There's so much cool
Yeah.
stuff to do there, Like if you're going to fly all the way to Hawaii and get married there, take advantage, right? And I'm sure that's so much of what your messaging and sales calls and stuff go over because now you're booking all day elopements in Hawaii, even multi-day elopements in Hawaii. So you're killing it out there.
Yeah. And that's another thing I would say that I really learned from you was those clients won't go away. And I've also learned to shift my mindset because I used to feel resentment towards them. You kind of have this ego sometimes, like once you start offering these higher packages and someone's like, I have this budget. And I used to feel resentment, or maybe like that was a reflection of me. But now you can shift the mindset to compassion, I guess. Like there are going to be people that do have that budget, either based on their income or because they have other priorities. And in order for me to have the lifestyle and business I want, unfortunately, that's not going to align. But you made it clear, like, this isn't going to be your client. And how do we speak to and create an experience that aligns more with the clients that we want? So I think shifting to like a more compassionate mindset around that, but also honoring, like, if I continue to take clients within this budget, I won't be able to have a work life balance of sustainable business because you will burn out eventually.
Totally. And your well, not main motivation, but one of your motivations to like joining the mastermind and building your elopement photography business is because you wanted to work smarter, not harder. You'd already done, you'd burnt out from backpacking with teenagers, you'd done a million portrait sessions with photography, and now you're like, I want to settle into a real lifestyle here in Hawaii. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so eventually I was terrified, but getting rid of the 2-hour package and starting with the 4-hour coverage. And then throughout your program, I learned how to do full day elopements. And then my business was thriving. So I was done with the mastermind. And then I came back recently to start doing multi day and multi island experiences. And I was continued to be able to raise my prices and actually have a comfortable lifestyle here because it's not cheap.
And you're charging like, you have like $10,000 packages now.
Yeah, and that's something I never thought was possible. So that's really exciting, and I feel like a huge achievement because still, even when I see some colleagues pricing and stuff, yeah, and I'm like, whoa, I can charge 10K for what I perceive to be a little bit more laid back of an experience and one that like the couples I work with really enjoy. But again, I still have that, like, there's no shame on weddings because I see a lot of value in them. They're just, the couples have different values. So
Mhm.
it's just aligning, I think, your values with the couples that see the value in that intimacy and stuff too.
Yeah, there's just different strokes for different folks. And we're not here to convince couples that wanna just have an hour or 2 on the beach in Hawaii. We're not here to convince them to do a multi-island hop on top of a volcano and stuff like that? And we're not here to convince couples that really have been looking forward to a 200-person wedding to elope in Hawaii. We're here to just speak to the people who already see the value in having a really intimate experience, just the two of them, or maybe with some friends or family, and they want to do it in a beautiful tropical location. And I think, why wouldn't you want to island hop for your elopement week or something like that? The islands are all so different and so cool. So, like, the fact that you're offering that, not everyone's going to jump on it, but definitely people will. They'll see how cool that is and want it. That's a whole stepwise thing you went through, first seeing like, oh yeah, 2-hour elopements are fine. I could do these, to now charging $10,000. Like, what were some of the mindset shifts you had to go through to achieve that?
I think the biggest one was shame. Shame around, I guess there's so much inequality. And I feel like the income gap is just getting bigger and bigger and
Yeah.
bigger. In the first group coaching, and I think you do a similar thing in your program, my coach asked me, well, if you had a surplus of money each month, or you had a surplus of money at the end of the year, like if you had this extra income and you weren't living paycheck to paycheck, what would you do with it? And I said, well, I would go back to see my family more. And maybe on the way, I could get a hotel that I'm comfortable in. And I would donate to organizations that I believe in. And she was like, yeah, keep going, keep going. So we kind of just went down this road. And I was like, money is not bad when it's in the hands of good people, and it can
Yeah.
actually do really incredible things. And so then that kind of, I think the jargon is like healed my money wound, but
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
does help you see like, okay, this isn't bad. So it
Yeah.
was those small shifts she helped me realize, like, when you start making more money, it's going to go to really good places. And even in a literal capacity in your business, you can start building a team. And that's another thing. Like, I'm starting to build an associate team. And it's in a way that I would have wanted to join an associate team when I was first starting out. And I love working with photographers who are extremely talented and maybe just starting in their own business and giving them the chance to build their portfolio as an associate and kind of like taking that leap of like, they could probably show a couple with a picnic or rappelling down a waterfall, like taking that leap in their business where maybe they haven't grown it to that step yet, but now
Mhm.
they can showcase these things. And then I also want to support them and pay them really well because it's very sad to see some of the pay that people do for associate programs and just take advantage of people. So I digress a little bit, but going back to like when you start building excess income in your business and continuing to grow it, you're going to do a lot of really positive things, including potentially even like mentoring people along the way and helping them build their own businesses.
Yeah. That is so cool that you're building a team and basically giving back to these photographers, like paying them a good wage and you're letting them use the photos for their own portfolio. That is so amazing because that's like the epitome of community over competition. I know people like throw that phrase around a lot, but it really is about, like when you are successful, being able to turn around and help other people become successful is the greatest thing that you could do. Obviously, that's my shtick. That's
Yeah.
my thing that I love is helping other people be successful because it never takes away from your own success. It really doesn't. So you've healed a lot of money trauma and stuff like that to be able to do that and healing that money trauma. Everyone has money trauma. Like that is one of the keys to being successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's probably, it can be different for everyone. And having someone to help you go through that could probably be one of the biggest mindset shifts in your business to get to where you want to be. And we probably think about like, we get caught up in numbers like, if I put a 9 at the end of this package, will they want it? Or should I end it with 1,050 or 1,099? I was there. That's what I was thinking. And really, it's like the first part is that mindset shift of believing you can charge that much, but also having the systems in place and potentially a mentor, someone to like back you in it and be like, you got this, because it's terrifying.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ways I help people is just giving them the permission to charge more. Sometimes they need to hear that, like, oh, this number that I want to charge is fine and actually maybe a little on the low side, and I can charge more. And it doesn't make me a greedy, bad person. Cause just like what you said, more money in the hands of good people is powerful. I see it as an act of rebellion. And I think that all of us women right now should and you guys out there that listen, but it's female dominated and we should all be getting on our hands on as much money as possible because we are good people doing great
Mhm.
work. So I love that. So let's also talk about how you're really into like systems and automation and again working smarter, not harder. So how has that helped you not only grow your elopement business, but like kind of pivot into new business ventures?
Sure. Yeah. So I think like having a CRM, like I have Dubsado, life changer. The planning aspect, having like the questionnaire, which I learned from you, built into my automated emails, and then really organized Google Docs for each couple with an itinerary, knowing when we're going to do our call, stuff like that. Like all of that has been automated. So now my business, as soon as someone books with me, boom, all of that, it just happens automatically and I don't have to worry about them. And I even check in with them after their elopement day, automated, follow up with them about a review, album. So now my business is running on autopilot and you can scale really quickly, which has been incredible. And then you feel more confident raising your pricing. But now it's kind of in this maybe every 3 to 6 months, like, okay, I can raise my pricing a bit more. And so we talked about it a little bit, but I love entrepreneurship and business building. As a creative, I love interior design. And so a natural shift and dream for me was starting my own Airbnb. So now I'm doing it. So I am going to start an Airbnb in San Diego. I invested in another coaching program to teach me how to do this.
So you didn't have to figure it out from scratch.
Exactly. But the program I'm pursuing, you rent from a landlord rather than buying your own Airbnb. And I was so busy with my own business and honestly kind of scared to even ask them. And you have to call a lot of them or reach out to a lot. And I just didn't have the
Mhm.
time. So it was approaching almost a year that I'd been in that program. And I was like, where is the bottleneck right now in my business? Like, why am I not getting from point A to point B?
Yeah, you're dragging your feet.
Yeah, it was that first step. I was like, once I have a place, I feel confident about designing it, automating the systems again, client experience. But I was struggling with that first step. So I hired, they're just called deal sourcers. And within 3 weeks, after me waiting like 9 or 10 months trying to do it by myself, they found me a place. And so paying and investing in people that are experts in something, I can never stop talking about that because best thing ever. But yeah, and so now I'm starting my first unit in San Diego. And even all the systems that I've learned from my photography business, like that's why I feel so confident in starting this new venture because the systems and automation aspect completely transfers.
I love that. And I feel like I want to throw in the fact that you started this Airbnb because you had so much extra time and energy because of the automations and because how well your Hawaii elopement photography business is going. I mean, you're expanding into a team and you still are like, I have this extra time and energy. Everything is going so smoothly that I'm just going to go ahead and start another business. And like, yeah, so much of the skill sets we learn building an elopement photography business can be transferred to so many other things. And I think that that's so cool, especially that you're taking advantage of that. And now you're going to have multiple income streams. I'm just so happy for you.
Thank you.
Very proud. That's super cool. So you've made big money moves, obviously. Like you've invested in 3 different coaching programs at this point and participated in 4. You hired these deal maker guys. Like how do you get over the fear of investing in all this stuff?
I think the first time you do it, you're gonna be scared. I don't know who it is, but there was a really good quote, and I don't know if it's even a quote, but this mindset and mantra and mentality of a really successful, probably millionaire or billionaire, where the most successful people, they move quickly because by the time that they've invested in something, and even if it didn't work, they figured out the mistake and why it didn't work. And then they invest again and they do it the right way. And they've done it quicker than the person who's having analysis paralysis, kind of like I was, and like 9 months later still didn't have a Airbnb. So first give yourself like permission to fail because if you just start somewhere, you're going to figure out what the mistake is and then you'll move quicker and have success faster. That being said, if you don't have a lot of extra money to invest, I think a more practical approach is talk to people in a coaching program if you want to do a coaching program and ask the coach about the ROI, like return on investment. Because if they don't have those numbers, or if there's other students that can't give a testimonial to that, then you're not in the right place. It's not a good program. And I think that's a big thing with your program is like you have all this data from students over years. For me, that makes me feel safe. Talk to the coaches and see who you feel safe with and who actually pays attention to you. So you're not just a number. That will probably happen in any industry. But yeah, I think researching, talking to people, seeing if the coach is more personable. But yeah, seeing what the students are saying in the program and then make sure there's an ROI. Like, because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing is like you want your money to come out of the other side.
Totally. Yeah. It's not money you're flushing down the toilet. It's money you're spending to make more money. And that can be absolutely terrifying, especially people who are starting their business journey because they aren't rolling in the dough. Nobody is starting a business because they have an excess of funds. And somebody just told me recently that, oh, it was Ava on my last podcast. She told me that one of the quotes that resonated with her was that fear and excitement are different sides of the same coin. You'll always experience them together. So if you're afraid of something, that doesn't mean necessarily that you shouldn't do it, but do it with your eyes wide open and like understanding what you're trying to accomplish, what your vision is, what your values are, what your body's telling you. And yeah, if that program gets the return on investment that you're looking for, you can go into it scared and excited and get the work done and see all that money at the other side, which
Yeah.
you can turn into an Airbnb. And then who knows what you'll do next.
Yeah. I know my long-term dream, I have a plan, three-pronged income. So my first one is like now my photography business is going and it also ticks boxes of like I'm making income and doing something I love. And
Yeah.
so then the second business is similar to that. It's scalable. I'll make income. I'll be able to move more freely because I love traveling. And then it ticks the boxes of like, I'm going to really enjoy it. So once
Hmm.
I get that going, my third venture that I'm really excited about are boring businesses and recession proof businesses. So
Hmm.
that'll be my third one. And again, I'm going to hire a coach. I already have, like, I've done the research on Instagram. So that's my long term business plan.
Well, I'm so proud of you and all the things that you've accomplished so far and that you're going to continue to accomplish. I love your story. I love seeing where you're going. I love your photography. It's beautiful. If you just had to give quick advice to an elopement photographer out there that's booking like 2 hour packages or struggling to get inquiries or bookings, or maybe even like, a wedding photographer that wants to pivot to elopement photography, but they're scared. So, someone kind of really starting out, what would be your top advice for them?
It's funny because I had somebody ask this a couple months ago because she was a wedding content creator. And I almost want to pull up the message just to,
Oh, you should.
yeah. Over the last 5 years, I've spent $25,000 on photography and business education, workshops, and mentorships from photographers I look up to. I think this is the fastest way to learn and grow. Go right to the source. I found these programs by following photographers on Instagram whose work I love, as well as their podcasts on Spotify. This would be a great place for you to start and further discover your style.
I love that.
Yeah, that's what happened for me was like I started with free resources. So that's what I would say. Start with free resources. Just look on Instagram. See whose work you feel inspired by. The algorithm does a amazing job of then suggesting more people to follow, and eventually one of those people is probably going to offer education or mentorship. So I would go with your gut and follow the work that excites you. And then if you're not sure if they provide value, you can explore that on their platform for free on Instagram. A lot of people do that, or on podcast because that's where I found the first program that I participated in. And then from there, I think if you want success in your business right away, find an education program. And I found the mentorships to be much more helpful from a creative perspective. But yeah, start with free stuff. Just Spotify is a great place to start. Follow people's work that you love. And then if you can, find an education program. And then definitely talk to students in the program because
Yeah.
that's where you'll get the truth of what's going on.
Oh, yeah. I've heard people sing praises of other educators, and also I've heard horror stories.
Yeah.
So, yeah, talking to students is key and finding the right educator for you. Like I'm not the only one educating elopement photographers right now. There's quite a few. Most of them have been through the mastermind and kind of learned from me on how to educate. And they're all great and they're doing amazing things. But yeah, I think that's so smart to like start with the free stuff, but get to know people to then figure out if you want to invest in their programs or not. Because when people are just trying to do things all on their own, it just either never works or your mind tricks you into doing things that you shouldn't be doing or a whole host of things. So cool. So, where can people find your beautiful photography and savviness? Can they find you on Instagram and your website?
Yeah, my Instagram is Ally, ALY_dove, like the bird. And then my website is allydove.com.
Perfect. Definitely check her out. Follow along on her adventures and elopements. And it was so fun talking with you today, Allie. And I just love how entrepreneurial you are and how far you've come in such a short period of time. It's so cool.
Thanks. And I have one more piece of advice that's more
Yeah.
practical that I didn't realize. But I think a lot of people say this, but it's true. Like, get any couple you can. I was so scared, like, when I first started, I posted everything on my feed, but it is really helpful to shoot the work that you want clients to hire you for. Get people and just start shooting and only post the work you want people to hire you for. And don't be afraid if you're like narrowing down on that because it will work. And same thing with styled shoots. Research them, make sure you talk to people who have done other styled shoots. It's very similar to coaching where there can be good stories and bad stories, but for the most part, it's really good. But I think it's a great investment if you don't have anything in your portfolio, and you'll meet wonderful other photographers that you'll build relationships with that can really help you. And I've been in those workshops too. The last thing with elopement photography, anytime you're shooting a wedding, you have to work your butt off. That's the one thing I don't want people to forget is like, if you get hired in Utah or the coast of Oregon, go to like 4 or 5 other spots while you're there and build your knowledge of that place. Even if you don't have anyone to shoot, you'll have been there, you can hike, you can talk about it more confidently on your calls with people. And it's not just this hypothetical thing. And that will make such a difference. So when you're speaking to clients to communicate your experience, they'll trust you more. I think the location scouting part is really important if you want to get into elopements. And it can be really exciting too. Like if you don't have as much work, and like for me, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I need to go check this out. Make it fun. Do a trip if you can, somewhere that you really want to shoot. And if even if you can't get a couple, like be proud of yourself, go build your knowledge of that area. And as long as you're crediting photographers, I think it's okay to say like, hey, like, look, this is what an elopement could look like. This is not my work, but I've been here. The hike is a little hard in this section, but then we'll get up here and you've done the hike now. So you can say all those things and they're talking to you on the phone because they like your work. Obviously, don't steal people's work, but I think it's okay to credit like, this is so-and-so photographer. It's not my work, but I just wanted you to be able to see what a ceremony could look like up here. You know, like all these small things where they'll be like, oh, this is like an expert. Like she knows what she's talking about. And I think that's a good little hack too, if you haven't photographed places, but you want to.
Yes, I 100% agree to that. I feel like location scouting is one of the most fun things about our job. And like, I location scout just all the time. I have elopements planned in like every country I've ever been to. I might not ever shoot those things, but if somebody wants to talk to me about Patagonia, I have ideas already, you know? So getting boots on the ground is great. And then, yeah, when you're on your sales call, being able to pull up even other people's photos and be like, I've been here. This sounds perfect for you. I've never photographed here before, but this is why it's perfect. And then like, look at these Google images that I pulled up or Pinterest images or something like this is kind of what it could look like. And I've totally booked elopements doing that.
Yeah, I think that's something I was afraid of. Like, don't be afraid to say, I haven't photographed here because they're already on the call with you because there's something about your work that they like. Being transparent about that, I thought it would turn people off. But I think more being able to talk about the location and stuff, that's really important. And this is another thing Megan is really good at of doing another, like, this isn't like a plug or whatever, but landing pages. Like, she
Hmm.
taught me all about that. So if you want to learn about that, like, she is someone you can trust if you want to move somewhere or just start shooting in other places. Like she actually has a formula. It's not just like, we'll try our best. She has a formula that works. And I think that's something like you can trust in a coaching program is like data and formulas. And she's got like a definite formula that works. So yeah.
Tested and proven.
Yeah.
Well, that is awesome advice. I didn't even like sometimes I don't even think about that stuff. But yeah, that was awesome advice. So thank you so much for being on the podcast, Allie. We covered so many great topics. This is why I love interviewing past mastermind members because they're doing amazing things. Allie, you're doing amazing things. And I'm just so happy that you were here. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for joining us on this week's episode of Stoked. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and tell a friend. If you're looking for more inspiring elopement photography content, check us out on Instagram at Megan McPhail. And if you'd like to hear more about my business coaching and how I can personally help you hit six figures as an elopement photographer, then check out my website at www.meganmcphail.com.